Hey all, so welcome to your first and only lesson of week 8 because we have this short MEA week. If you want to look at the calendar, I strongly encourage that in the classwork tab. You're going to have a lesson today, you're going to have a short quiz tomorrow, and then you're going to still have a work day on Wednesday. So if you have any questions about this short MEA week, please let me know in the comments or feel free to set up a Zoom and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So let's get started with our notes. Today we're going to talk about finding the measures of central tendency, and we have homework from chapter 4, section 3. So get all your stuff ready and let's get started. Now the first thing that we're going to want to do is define measures of central tendency. Now this might be a phrase that you're not super familiar with, but you've seen these before. They are your mean, your median, and your mode. Notice I didn't say range. Range isn't about the center of data. Range is about the outside. So your measures of central tendency, or what the center of the data tends to do, are mean, which is when you take the sum of all the data and divide it by the number of data points. We also sometimes call this the average. Your median, which is the middle number. And in order to find this, you want to order your terms from least to greatest, and then cross out numbers on either side to find the middle number. And then your mode, which is your most common number. Now, here we're going to start off with our first data set. And it says find the median, mean, and mode. Oh my goodness, look at that typo. Mode of the following set, 4, 8, 8, 3, 6, 8, 3. So the first thing that I find helpful is for most of these, reordering is going to be helpful. Median, obviously, but it's also going to be helpful for mode. So I'm going to start by reordering in terms from least to greatest. So in this case, our least term, we have 3, and we have 2 of those. Then we have a 4, a 6, and 3 8s. And one thing that I like to do when I reorder is you'll notice that I wrote everything directly below. So if these lists are the same length, I know I didn't forget any numbers. Now we're just going to find these in order. So for mean, you can just add them straight across. So 3 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. Divided by the number of data points that there are. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers. So all of this is going to be divided by 7. Now I tend to prefer to add in groups, meaning that I'm going to add a bunch of numbers together instead of trying to do like a running tally in my head as I work across. So I'm going to start by maybe adding this first 4 and these second ones together, which gives me 16 plus 24 over 7, which is 40 over 7. This is a fine way to leave your answer, or if you want to write it as a mixed number, that would be 5 and 5 over 7. Now for our median, we already have our numbers all in order, which is great. We've got 3, 3, 4, 6, 8, 8, 8. And now, as we said, we're going to cross off from either side. So the highest, then the lowest, until we have one number left. And you always want to check to make sure that you've crossed out the same number on both sides. So in this case, we've got 3 and 3, so then we know it is in fact the middle number of 6. Now if there is no middle number, that can happen, and we will deal with that in a later example. The mode is just the most common number, and here's the nice thing about the reordering is that we can see there's 2, there's 1 each of these, and there's 3 of 8, so the mode here is 8. So this is a nice hopefully feels like review of mean, median, and mode. Here's a more challenging question on the same topic. If you have you've taken 3 tests so far. If you have so far scored 82, 75, and 78 on each test, What do you need to score on the next test to have an average grade of 80? These are the types of questions that I get asked by students all the time. What do I need to get on this to pass the class? What do I need to get on this to get an A? Right? Very common type question, and you are fully capable of doing this on your own, and I'll show you how. So since we're asking about average, that means we're going to be talking about the mean. So the average is the total number of points divided by the number of tests. Now, in this case, we want an average of 80, and we have a total number of points that we'll figure out in a second. And then here's the sneaky part, is that we are then dividing it by 4. You've had 3 tests so far plus the next one. So this is the total number of tests you are going to take in this problem. So then we want to get the unknown by itself. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. And I know that I want 320 to equal the total number of points that I've earned on my 4 tests. Now, so far, I know that that would be 82 and 75 and 78 is the number of points I've earned, plus whatever I'm going to get on my next test. So this is the actual number I want to solve for, is this value right here. There's a couple things you could do first. I'm going to simplify all of these together since they're like terms. And I'm going to bring my work up over here. So 320 is equal to those together is 235 plus n. I want to get the variable by itself, so I subtract 235 from both sides since it's an addition problem. And that leaves me with 85 would be what I would need to score on the test in order to have an 80 as an average. Another really important idea when we talk about data is this idea of an outlier. Now, an outlier is a data point in a set that is either much smaller or much bigger than the next closest number. And this is really important because outliers can skew. What that means is that it makes it not representative of the mean and the range. Thankfully, the mode and the median aren't affected by outliers, and I'll show you what that means in just a second. So in number 3, we have the paychecks of 5 people at a company are $1,250, $1,350, $1,100, $1,000, $4,500, and $1,200. So when we look at that as a list of numbers in order, I would hope that you would notice all of the first numbers here are very closely gathered together. These are very similar numbers. This number here is much bigger than the rest. This is the outlier. 4,500 would be the outlier. And as we said, that can skew the mean, but not the median. So if I wanted to find the mean, I would add these all together, and there's 6 numbers in this case. Wow, this is just full of typos today. 6. And when we add those all together, you can use your calculator if you want to check this. You would end up with 10,400 over 6, which means that the mean is $1,733.33. Now, if we look at the median, we've already put all of our numbers in order. We're going to cross out here, here, 1, 2. All right, so this is what we talked about a little bit earlier, is that we have a set of numbers that doesn't have a middle number. The middle number is going to be right in between these two because we can't cross out them both. Now, the way that we find that number directly in between is we find the average of these two. So 1,200 plus 1,250 over 2 is going to be our actual median. So in this case, the median would equal $1,225. Make sure you're including units in these problems. So when we say they skew, you'll notice here all of these numbers are closely grouped together, and this would be part of that group. This number is much bigger than all of these except for the outlier. So the outlier has made the mean bigger than it should be based on the data set. So why would we use the median rather than the mean to describe this data set? Again, if we look at these two numbers, which ones look more like the data set that we have? We have this number, the mean, that's much too high. So if you see, if you're looking at current events and things like that, you will often see things as medians or means. And what that can tell you is that a mean means that there isn't a lot of outliers, or it can mean that they're trying to hide the fact that there's a lot of outliers. So you always want to look for both, because if the numbers are really different, that means that your data has outliers and you want to know about that. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments or talk to me on Zoom. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.